Open this board meeting. Thank you for coming. This is our Hillsboro School Board meeting of June 13th, 2017. Is our last school board meeting of the school year, if I'm not correct. Perhaps I'm correct. And it's been a wonderful year. Thank you all for joining us. We have a full agenda for this evening, and so we would like to kick it all off. If you would join us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So, first up, Mike. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to present from here this evening. Since we're doing a recognition of our outgoing board members, wanted the opportunity to say a few words. And we have three people that are here this evening that will be leaving us. We've got Janine, Monty, Glenn. Eric is not able to join us this evening, which is unfortunate, so I'm going to look right at the camera when I say this. Eric, I had a proclamation I was ready to read for you. We know how you love proclamations, and I was ready to go. So if you ever want to hear that at another time, I'm happy to do that. All right, the first person I want to talk about is Monty Akers, and Monty has been serving on the board for the last 6 years. And when I am out and about in the community, Monty is a guy that you see everywhere you go. Whether it is some type of school program or school event, whether it's an athletic program, maybe it's him coaching at Glencoe. You can see him doing that in the fall each year. He is at all types of programs, and he volunteers a ton. He is not one of these guys, he doesn't talk about his volunteerism outside of this room very much. In fact, you would never know that he's all over the community like he is. But honestly, it's rare when there's an event or there is something going on that is doing good for kids that Monty's not part of that. So a couple of them that I'd like to mention is just the Warriors, the Math Warriors program. He's been involved with a group of students over at Glencoe High School that have traditionally struggled in math. And he has lended his support and been there as an advocate throughout this last year. So something that's very worthwhile, and he's formed a bond with those guys that is fun to watch. I was at an elementary school and I saw him pull up in his vehicle, and he starts unloading food into the counselor's office. And it turns out he is organizing and donating food for a food backpack program that goes home with some of our most needy students. He's very involved with the Optimist Club, and because of his involvement with the Optimist Club, the district now has a much tighter connection with that club, and they have done all types of good work for our students, whether it is donating money or donating the services or recognition for middle school students and middle school staff. We tie that directly to Monty. One of the things that, some of the things that Monty has been responsible for, if you were to hear the phrase measurable goals in a work setting, that would be probably Monty saying that. He is big on using data to make decisions and making sure that our efforts are paying off in the way that we thought they would. He's been involved with long-range planning. He's been involved with bargaining. He's the one guy that enjoys the audit committee on the board. He's done that. He's been instrumental in the concept of a district evaluation tool. He's been instrumental in getting reinvestment in our athletics and our activities program. And I know that I'll continue to see you around the community because you're out and about so much. Monty, as the president of the Optimist, he had the opportunity to speak at the Miller Education Center graduation the other night. It was the first time ever that I've heard Mike Tyson quoted in a graduation speech. So that was very creative. So and the Mike Tyson quote was, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face." So I thought, for everyone this evening, I would try and find a celebrity quote that I thought maybe would fit. So, no, these are nice. I'm on my best behavior. So, The quote I picked for Monty was actually by Morgan. It wasn't enough. I actually looked for other Mike Tyson quotes. There are no other quotes that would be appropriate to read here. So I chose one by Morgan Freeman, and the quote I chose was, "Don't miss your opportunity to make a difference every day. Lead someone to become what they aspire to be." And through your involvement in our community, that is exactly what you've done. So if you would come up and get we have a traditional gift that we give outgoing board members. It is a engraved school bell, as well as a certificate. So there's the bell. And here's the certificate.
Bring it, bring it. Uh-oh.
There we go. And there's the certificate. Thank you very much.
You want to come out and do?
Okay. Only shook 1,500 hands on this.
Sure.
All right.
I'll say I'm very short. I mean, be very short. Nobody knows I'm short.
I can start the 3-minute timer.
It's going to go less than that. I just want to express my appreciation to the staff and board members for putting up with me. I oftentimes are the contrarian person, the outlier, as Dwayne has labeled me, and the tough grader. Mike.
Get back.
In 6 years, I've learned a lot, I received a lot, and I gave a lot. I will not miss the meetings, but like other organizations I have left, I will miss the people and the relationships. So thank you very much.
All right, next I want to talk a little bit about Glenn Miller, and he has had 4 years of service on the board. And Glenn has been involved in a variety of different areas during his time and his work with the board. And one of the things that I would say about Glenn is he's one of those guys that works incredibly hard to learn about areas that he didn't have experience with before. He's a guy that digs in. He'll typically start by digging in with technology first, and then he will expand his circle from there and ask all kinds of questions so that he can continue to learn and gather the information that he needs in order to make a decision. One of the things that I don't know if people would know about if you haven't been in 4 years of meetings with Glenn, but some things for you to know about is he is an incredible advocate for the arts. If you were to look at the amount of time he spends volunteering with Liberty Band in particular, there's just hours and hours that he has put in there. He served as an officer with their organization, and he was an incredible advocate when we had additional dollars to reinvest that 1 year. And he was an advocate for the arts, and because of his advocacy and because of the compelling case that he was able to make, additional dollars went to each of our schools in the area of the arts. And I just don't know if people would know that about Glenn. The other thing that he has been instrumental in is the long-range planning piece. He's been not only involved with the bond efforts, but he's been involved with long-range planning, with our long-range planning team for all 4 years? 4 years. Yeah, all 4 years. So he has spent a lot of time advocating for the upkeep of our building, of our buildings and our facilities. He understands that making sure that we protect the investments that we have in our facilities is something that's important, and he takes that responsibility very seriously to do that. Incredible advocate for technology. If Don Wolf were to high-five any board member this evening, it should be Glenn Miller. He was, again, that same year that we had money to reinvest, we put a healthy chunk of that towards the technology needs of our district. Those needs are significant, and the amount of money that we have to put towards that is not adequate. But he made sure that we put a big chunk of that towards that. He was also involved in a boundary swap that gained some attention, but nonetheless was something that was important for us as a community. He took a really early interest in the dual language program, and I believe that when he dug in and started learning about that, it changed his opinion about that. I think he came in with one opinion, and he took the time to learn about it, and he became an advocate for dual language, and we appreciate your digging in in doing that. He's a guy that his workload, his personal work, has increased pretty tremendously over the last 6 months, and he's continued to balance that with, or make every effort to balance that with the board work that has been necessary, and so we appreciate that. He's also been that guy that encourages the district not to surround ourselves with people that all think the same. He encourages us to make sure we hear the counter story and the other voice that might be out there, and that has served us well. The quote I picked for Glenn comes from from Miley Cyrus, because I know you're a big fan. So the quote is, "It's only hard if you try and be something you're not. Being who you are is really easy." And Glenn, one thing I would say about you is that you have been true to yourself and true to your values and true to your beliefs, and you've brought that to each meeting that you've participated in. And I hope that the new discretionary time that you now have available to you is used for your own personal fulfillment, not just filled up with work. So, thank you for your many years. You want to say a few words?
Well, I actually didn't have any prepared remarks, but I do want to echo what Monty said about thanking all of you for putting up with me for the last 4 years. It's been fun. I've enjoyed most of it. Everything gets a little tedious on like occasional things, but it's been a fantastic 4 years. I really appreciated it. I look forward to serving in other roles. I've agreed to stay on to some committees and things like that, so you'll still see me around, but I'm looking forward to letting you guys do some of the leading for a while. I'll be in a supporting role. So thank you very much for the 4 years.
All right. Do our handshake. Okay, there we go.
Probably just too bad.
There we go. All right, handshake it. There we go. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I can check it.
You got to check it out. All right, the last person I wanted to spend some time talking a little bit about is Janine Solomon. She has been on the board for 8 years, though it seemed longer. When I first met Janine, she was wearing tie-dye. She was optimistic, had tons of ideas. She was not interested in the status quo. She would oftentimes break out in song or do her woo-woo thing, or that. Oftentimes use phrases from musicals or movies or songs. I thought when I first met her that she was very dramatic, loved to have fun, incredibly into recycling. If you have a couple hours to kill, ask her about recycling. And the other thing I thought about her is that she was in it for all the right reasons. And as I look back over the 8 years that I've spent with Janine, I would say all of those things are still true. I'm still in it for the right reasons. And one of the things that I find interesting about Janine is when she first got on the board, she had all these ideas to share. And she would share an idea, and it would be crickets in the room, dead quiet. There would be it would be just dead quiet. But as I think back about some of the ideas that she had, there are so many of them that have been implemented and are currently taking place right now, whether it's simple things like where audience time is, or whether it's having the chair and the vice chair in the agenda planning meeting. There's just a whole list of things, but so many of the things that initially were met with silence are now being used in our district and used in a very positive way. Janine's one of those people who is out and about in our schools all the time. She reads to our students. She does school visits on a really regular basis. If there's a school event or a community event, it's likely that you'll find her there. She's involved with our Career Pathways program. Eternal optimist, not part of the club, but she is an eternal optimist. She's an outside-the-box thinker. She is always encouraging us to involve the community in our conversations and make sure that we're incredibly transparent. Always pushing us to have opportunities for the community to be involved in even bigger ways. So she's still coming up with ideas and some great ideas, but now those ideas have moved to Salem. And so, Janine, I wanted to just thank you for all of your efforts. And the quote that I picked for you is from Ellen. It's a good one. No. True beauty is about who you are as a human being, your principles, and your moral compass. And I think you have always been guided by those notions. So thank you for your many words. Congratulations.
I do have words. And I warned everybody that I was going to. So, and I'm just so excited to say that my mumsy is here to be here. She said, I was there when you first were elected. I'm going to be there when you're going out. So, and I'm not getting upset. So I just wanted to say that so much of our work we talk about is about policy or about our employment of our, he's going to sit down. Second is the employment of your superintendent. But I wanted to say that I believe that the number one thing that board members need to be focused on and understand is about relationships. And having really good relationships, whether those relationships are with students, whether they're with our staff members, whether they're with the leadership team that we have as a district in the district, whether they're community members, school board members abroad, other school board members outside of our district, and legislators. I think that the decisions that we make always impact, we have to look at the relationships that we have. My motto has always been, if I'm making decisions in the best interest of kids, I better go where the kids are. So most of my highlights in these 8 years have been in the classroom, but it's through those classroom experiences that I have really made connections with staff members that I will never forget. And with kiddos, you know, when you're with third grade kiddo at Free Orchards and you're there talking with kids at Free Orchards, and somehow a discussion comes up as to about my dad, and then my dad passed away. This little third grader goes, "Your dad died too? So did my dad." And then you start talking. And those moments of connection that you have with somebody and what they've gone through, and you talk about trauma-informed care. I have highlights and I have hopes mixed up in here. So some of my hopes are making sure that we really do continue the work around our trauma-informed care. It is very important work. So many of our students come through our doors without us really knowing what's happening behind their own doors. And so I just really want to say that that's really proud work that we are doing in Hillsboro, and just having accessible health care for our students is so important. You know, when you talk with, most of you know I love The Grinch. Every year I've gone and read to every elementary school right before winter break. I've read How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and there's a dog in that story, and his name is Max. And when the student from Mrs. Peterson's class said, "My grandpa's name was Max, and he just died." And then you go in and you talk about having a discussion on that. I'm just telling you, it's the relationships that you have, these moments that you have to make these connections with these kids are things you won't forget. I also, there's a lot of highlights. Love being part of the prize patrol with HSF, and that's just exciting to be able to go into these schools and reward our staff members with their hard-hitting grants that they're working on so that they can be innovative in our classrooms. That's exciting work. Those are community connections, and those are staff connections. You know, the equity team, we all saw that. And the support you get from staff members. The support. The equity team, our own work as board members when you go through equity training, like with CFE, that is incredibly important work. Again, you're taking your relationship with yourself and you're putting it in a very vulnerable spot, but to have really important conversations of things that our own students are feeling and dealing with in our district. Our highlight of our budget process. It has been so incredibly transparent and inclusive. It is so wonderful to know that so many of our budget committee members have stepped up into board positions now. And it's just another relationship that you have with your community. mentioned the board leadership with the chair and vice chair. I think it is an important relationship. You know, the moment that I got to be at Mrs. Jones, and I'll forever have a relationship with her class, they do the respiration song. And they go through this whole thing about the respiration system in a song and dance, and it's incredible. And it was a day that Governor Brown was there as well to see that. So, and the graduations. That is, and I told Mike, I got to figure out how I'm going to get on that stage to hand out diplomas still, because it is a highlight. I don't think I've missed a graduation in the 8 years that I have been on this board, because to be there for that moment when those students cross that threshold and cross that to get that diploma is just incredible to be there for that moment for them. And so, and I do hope that we do have, you know, I have the ability now, really exciting, to have this lens as a school board member to take to Salem, and I have this ability to take those experiences and vote on things that are so incredibly exciting for students. And we recently voted on something, you know, for students, and it brought me to the thing that we talked about is having a student, you know, represented on our board. These students are ready for that. They're excited about that. And I've said this here and I've said it there, whether we've had some really tough conversations, these kids are watching and they're listening no matter what their age. They're in elementary school, they're in high school, whatever their age, they're watching and listening how we're conducting ourselves and what we're doing. And just to have those conversations, whether you're in a classroom reading with them, reading The Grinch, or having a conversation or volunteering, it's incredible to be a part of that. But I just am really excited that the conversations that I'm hearing about the new board team, because this is another transition of board members that I've seen, and it's just really important that you build that level of trust, because you talk about relationships, that's where the relationships start. Making sure that you're not always going to agree on things, but you come together with understanding where everybody's coming from, that trust is really important. And so grow as a team, take in all the professional development, and really listen to each other about ideas and experiences in this district. And the staff is incredible. I'm so fortunate to work with the most incredible staff from all levels, and so appreciative, such dedication and passion. And I just can't say enough about Mike, because our district is so incredibly lucky to have him as a superintendent. And if you don't know that, check out the facts and check out what our district is doing, because you talk about a moral compass, that's where that man is. His integrity and his compassion for students is evident, and the respect that he has for his staff members and likewise makes things happen. So I just want to say that I feel I have grown in so many ways in this 8 years, and I'm so grateful for the experience. And I realize I talked a lot, but I just want you to know that, because I really, really appreciate this lens, and I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm excited for new board members. I'm excited for new community members. Just thank you so much. Appreciate it. Oh, I'm all teary-eyed. I'm taking my bed loud.
Take a picture with the bell.
Look at that, he had it already.
All right.
I warned you. Sorry.
That's great. I almost started the public speaker timer. Appreciate your thoughts. I think the remaining board members would be, I was anticipating spending a bit of board time at the end in personal statements, unless there is anything that anyone would like to say on the topic now.
You'd rather us hold our thoughts till the end?
I'm open either way. Would you like to?
I'd rather do it when there's other audience
Okay.
members here, if that's okay.
Very good.
Can I?
Sure.
All right, there we go. Mr. Monty. When I first met Monty and I were opponents. And lo and behold, we ended up joining the board at the same time and we became friends. And Monty, what I really appreciate about you is your dedication and volunteer hours to the teenagers in our community. I've appreciated, as Mike explained, all those places where you give of your time and not only do you go to those places, and you leave behind notes. So as you went to performances and you left notes, I don't think we often realize how powerful a thank you note or compliment from a board member is to a teenager, and that they hang on to that. While we always have not agreed on absolutely everything, you've always treated me with respect, and I greatly appreciate that. I'm going to miss watching the shoes go by at graduations with you. One of the cool things about graduation, in addition to handing out diplomas, is watching all the cool shoes that the young women try to wear as they're going up and down all the stairs. And Monty's a great commentator with me about what that's about all that. But I know that our paths are going to continue, and that I'm going to continue seeing you in middle schools and high schools and out and about, and I look forward to that. Glenn, your service around long-range planning and the bond committee is going to serve this district for so much longer than your time on this board. And I just really appreciate the time and the thoroughness you put into that, into all those meetings from long-range planning and where those led with the bond, and that you were so thoughtful in the Bond Advisory Council about not only what was the work we were doing, but who were the people who were at that table and setting up this district for not just short-term success, but long-term success. And so I hope that you continue on that path with us and take credit for some of that success along the way. Miss Janine, this one will be longer, but not as long as Janine. Janine and I met 16 or 17 years ago. We were both serving on a board at a cooperative preschool, and what I first remember about her was that she always had a lot to say. And we sort of had these parallel paths in our mothering life of where we were both really involved in parent group organizations, and so oftentimes our paths were intersecting as we were doing advocacy work. And that work led both of us to land here, and I was really lucky that Janine landed first because I had someone here to welcome me and a smiling face, and in those days you didn't always get welcomed with a smiling face, and she mentored me. As you all know, Janine has a heart of gold, and I just really believe she was born to do this work. And I was trying to think about how do you capture sort of her service and what she touched. And it's just too much to list, the committees she's served on and the events she has done. But I can guarantee you that no matter what day of the week it is, or what time of day it is, 6 a.m. on a Saturday or midnight on a Sunday, she's there, whether it's a theater performance or a bingo night or a pancake feed or a holiday bazaar or a tamale sale or just anything you can think of. My family members who do not live in Hillsboro always see her and say, we can't believe I was at the such and such, and Janine was there, she's everywhere. You never missed a graduation in 8 years. Kudos. 48 graduations while it's a blessing and a pleasure, it's also an incredible time commitment. I was trying to figure out how many years you had been reading Dr. Seuss books. And I also think it's been the whole time, so in my estimation, you have been in at least 200 classrooms sharing your magic and your voices and your passion for reading. I'm assuming that will continue and that you will continue to warm bin for anybody who asks, regardless of your board.
Going to a preschool
Service. Same thing, it's too hard to explain how many things you changed when you joined this board. And something that seems so incredibly simple and common sense as inviting guests to speak at a board meeting and allowing them to speak at the beginning of your meeting and not waiting until 11 o'clock at night seemed like an unsurmountable challenge when we began. And something so simple as welcoming guests into your meeting and giving people space to speak, that reverberates and ripples out for eons, my friend. I'm going to miss working with you, and I know that we are going to continue to on this path that intersect, and I'm ending with jab sound.
Okay. I didn't realize that we would have time just to talk specifically about this revenue card, or in Janine's case, a book. But I'll share some of those highlights and then some other thoughts that are necessary as a part of the piece. So I'll start with Monty also, like everyone else has done. One of the things that I really appreciated about Monty in the 2 years before I got on the board, when I was sitting in the audience as a school board staffer, according to Superintendent Scott, was how Monty was always very no-nonsense about his questions, and also always wanted to understand what the numbers said, and always like find some measurable goals. That's in the card. It's something I really appreciate and I really respect, and I think that it's made the work that the school board has done a lot more effective, and I think that that's something that will live on for a long time. So that's something I really appreciate about Monty. And then also, I always will appreciate that Monty was the only one of the other board members who was going to join me as the rookie board member on the audit committee. So thank you very much, Monty, for that. Okay. And then Glenn. So what I appreciate about Glenn is when I was running for the school board many years ago, a couple years ago now, he was really happy to sit down and talk with me over coffee and share with me his thoughts and his perspectives. And even though we often disagree, we started to build a relationship at that time. And I really appreciate that Glenn always has a really sort of roll off the back with my snarks. I'm very snarky, and Glenn is the right kind of personality and just be like whatever Lisa, and then move on. So I really appreciate that. And then also, again, of all the other board members, Glenn was one who made me feel more welcome than a lot of other folks. When we were both in Bend that first year of the conference, he sort of guided me around and introduced me to folks and sat at breakfast with me. Sort of, the rookie school board member babysitter kind of is how I thought of it. And something that I always really appreciated, that made me a lot more comfortable. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. And Janine, you would think that I said it all if you read your card, but I didn't. I'll try to keep it short. Janine is someone who I respect a great deal, and has always encouraged me to get involved. In fact, when people ask me how I ended up on the school board, I usually say that I just said yes to Janine one too many times, because she keeps asking you to do more and more things, and has great ideas for how you can put your skills to good use to serve the community. She has been a great mentor to me and a great friend, and I'm going to miss her very, very much. I'm not going away. It's hard for me to imagine sitting on the board without Janine here, but I know that she's going to represent us well in the same moment. Now I feel a lot more comfortable lobbying her. I don't have to see her every other Tuesday, so get ready for that. And so just thank you all. I was reading in our packet together, including Eric, who's not here this evening. You guys have a combined 22 years of service to the Hillsboro School District, so I think that's pretty impressive.
It's my opportunity to say a few words, and don't usually gush. I'll have an opportunity later on that as well. But it's been fantastic working with the four board members. I thought I'd actually start with Eric, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. He wasn't feeling well. He's been battling an illness, and so I traded some thoughts with him over email and appreciation over his service. We actually worked together. He was the engineer, computer engineer with me on this board, and I wanted to share just that he's been a passionate believer in education and in creative ways that we can fulfill our educational responsibility, and he's been a powerful advocate for thinking differently. He expresses himself differently than other people, and he has a unique style that has caused us all joy and happiness and grief, and getting to work with him, and it's been a pleasure in having that different style. We all talk about diversity of opinions, diversity of ideas and methods, and it has been a pleasure to serve with him because of his differences and because of the conversations that come about naturally from the process of talking through our different opinions. And so it's been wonderful to serve with him. I appreciate his work. Glenn, I also have known for a long time. We met, and it was mentioned earlier his long service in the band community. It was my pleasure to work with him in the Liberty Band so many years ago as we were shepherding children through and trying to figure out how to volunteer and learn and grow. It's been a pleasure to serve you, Glenn, taught me in different perspectives on how to look at things. I appreciate your work in the planning committee, in your forward perspective, and that's really what I characterize your skill is that distant view of how do we accomplish that far out plan and where the payoffs come and how we can make decisions in the near term that will set us up for success in maintaining our schools and being prepared for our educational responsibilities in new areas of the district. And it's just been a pleasure to see that concern demonstrated so clearly through your work. It's been wonderful, and I expect we'll continue to work together in many capacities, so that's great. Monty, you were in our same time frame. I'm trying to remember how it all was there, but it was the same year that we began thinking about it. It's been a pleasure working with you. I appreciated your views on keeping it real. Everything, all the decisions that we make that has been based on what we see, what we can determine from what we've been doing, and it's driven so many things about how we conduct our evaluation system. Really on all the prongs of evaluation of our district, you've had a critical hand in driving how we look at the superintendent's evaluation, how we deal with our own board, and how we really converge the board accomplishments and the superintendent accomplishments with the actual district results, and making sure that we maintain the accountability system. That's been a hallmark of your work, and I really appreciate that service that you've given. Janine, you've been around forever as far as I can, as far as my long-term memory runs. And it has been a pleasure and a joy. Above all, the thing that always comes out in working with you, besides you talk a lot, which other people have covered very well, is that everything you do is from the love of your heart. And I just, for the areas that we agree and the areas that we disagreed, it's always, there's never been a question of where your service comes from. And that it's just that undying love of the students and the service that we can give as a community that has driven you, and it's been a pleasure to serve you. With that, I struggle with my comments because Lisa, before coming down here, said, please, Wayne, remember the 3 hours that you're going to really pull it off this time. So,
I didn't mean it this part.
So Lisa tells me then that the rest of this meeting is going to shrink down, and we're going to pull off another record meeting.
That's right. All right.
With that, thank you all. It's been wonderful, and we have some other business to deal with this meeting. It would be fun to talk and have that opportunity. But seeing as there is no one else to comment here, we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is me taking the opportunity to recess this board meeting. Don't go anywhere, it's just a technicality. Recess our board meeting this is our school board, and in that same time, do I get hit twice? We're going to convene the budget hearing, in which we get to now hold our final budget hearing over our proposed budget for the coming year. And with that, all of you have in front of you, I'm told by Val, a packet of information about the adoption of a resolution for the 2017-18 budget. And I would be looking for a motion to approve using this document as a template for the motion.
So I will make
Wait.
Oh,
This is just an opportunity for public input. The action item comes later on in the agenda.
So this is, so we're not, thank you for the redirection. What do you want us to do, Adam?
Just ask if there's anybody who wants to speak on about
Okay.
the budget.
So, are there any other comments to speak during this budget hearing or the commentary for which we will take action at an upcoming board meeting?
No, later on in this.
I know, in the upcoming board meeting that will soon be to unrecess. Questions or comments, including, may not have been expecting it, but this is also an opportunity for public comment in the budget hearing as well. I don't have any public request cards for speaking at the budget hearing. Do I? No. So any questions, any other further items for discussion? That was very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you for the logistical assistance, and seeing no other questions, I've been able to close and recess this board. Okay, so we are now adjourning the budget hearing for that, and we will take action coming up shortly and reconvening again. I love this stuff. Reconvening our board meeting and continuing with our agenda. Wow, that was a logistical hurdle that I enjoy every year.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, it seems like we've kind of into the agenda now, but the next item would be, I would be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Second?
Motion made by Janine and seconded by Lisa to approve the agenda as printed. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, with that, our next item on the agenda is audience time. I have an audience paper here. I do have one request to speak, and so I will dig up. Oh, look, I found the budget hearing instructions that Val so carefully gave me as to what exactly I should say.
You did fine.
Participation, audience participation statement. Public participation in board meetings is governed by policy BDDH. Patrons may comment on specific agenda items at the beginning of the meeting or at the discretion of the board chair may be deferred to the time the item is before the board as stated in the agenda. Comments about non-agenda items will be heard during audience time at the beginning of the regular board meeting. Thank you to Janine. Speakers shall be, no, very positive, and I'll talk in a minute. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. The speakers may offer objective criticism of school operations and programs that are a concern to them. However, in public session, the board will not hear personal complaints of school personnel nor against any person connected to the school system. Other channels provide for board consideration and disposition of legitimate complaints involving individuals, including board policy, KOD, public complaints. There are board agenda sheets in the back. We've received one, and I make a comment because there were, a few years ago, there were some passionate feelings on the board about whose meeting this was and when people should talk, and public addresses were put to the end of the meeting, often at the end of very lengthy meetings, and it was a feeling of several new board members that we ought to be able to treat the public with more respect and more interest in what they had to say, and managed over the course of a couple of years, it took Janine, right?
Took a few years.
To get that, but we have the opportunity now to bring the speakers at the beginning when we're all fresh and when we're able to listen. So we really do want to take public input. It's an opportunity to for the public to interact and to tell us what you're thinking. And so please take out to your friends and acquaintances that there is opportunity to speak, and we relish the opportunity to listen. And with that introduction, I call April Davis up. She filled out her board card and is requesting to speak. And so please take it away. I got a timer I'll set there for you.
Hello, my name is April Davis. I am a Hillsboro resident, and I'm here to talk about, well, first of all, lots of thank yous going around. Well, thank you, Janine, for me being able to do this right now. I really appreciate that. And thank you for all the service that each of you has done. And congratulate the newly elected board members. As I share with you this evening, I'd like you to think about how what I talk about affects district graduation rates and voter participation of the district, perception of the district. 70% of voters in the district do not have children in the district. I'm acquainted with a retired couple in this category that chooses to spend their time helping in an elementary class in the district. I'm going to share with you what they shared with me. There are many children way below grade level in the class where my husband and I volunteer 2 times a week. Several of them can't read at all. I asked the teacher if they would be eligible to attend summer school this summer. The answer was that there's only funding for children of migrants. I think we should be helping all the children who are behind, not just the migrants. These kids don't stand a chance. The teacher told me she would love to have these students in a summer program, but that will not happen. The word equity is thrown around the district haphazardly. In this example, the district supports a program that discriminates between students with equal academic need. Students that have parents that are migrant workers are preferred and given access to services, while students that have the same academic needs do not have access to the same opportunity. It is not relevant where the funds come from. The district's choice to support a program that discriminates based on a parent's migrant worker status is not equitable. It is enabling and does not appeal to the 70%. I'd like to point out the culture of fear in this district. By the request of those mentioned in this discourse, the school and their identity was left out of my testimony. To my next. So tomorrow is Flag Day, and I'd like to commend the board for saying the pledge at each board meeting. And I'm going to ask if I could have a couple more minutes. Is that okay? Thank you. Unfortunately, I cannot give high schools in the district the same praise. The district policy on flag displays and salutes and under Oregon state law are directed to provide the opportunity to salute the United States flag at least once each week by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. When asked, most schools were very transparent in their response. All the elementary and middle schools contacted answered affirmatively. The high schools did not, and did not give the information without skepticism. Glencoe said they were unaware of the policy, which I find laughable. When my daughter was a junior, she questioned why Glencoe did not provide students the opportunity to say the Pledge of Allegiance. She did her research like the critical thinker that her parents taught her to be, and found that Oregon had a state law that directed schools to give students the opportunity to say the pledge. She asked the administration why they were not doing this. The assistant principal did not have an answer at first. Then, after discussing with the principal, answered her by saying, if you want to say the pledge once a week, you must initiate it. So she did. She went to the history classes asking students to participate. She was able to get the schedule to go to do it during the announcements. Sorry. I was asked by my daughter not to make a big deal about it at the time, and I respected that. I find it despicable that adults, the administrator in that district sloughed off their responsibility that is theirs to a student. It is my hope that this can change. Thank you for your time.
Are there any other requests? Okay, we will move on to our next portion of our meeting. This is in the reports and discussions, and we have Adam up first with budget committee vacancies.
This is the time of year when we announce the vacancies on the budget committee and start the process of filling those vacancies. This year we have 4 vacancies on the budget committee. If you'll recall, we have the 7 school board members and a like number of community members who make up our budget committee. This year we have 4 vacancies. 2 of those were created because 2 of our budget committee members just were elected to the school board. So we have those 2 vacancies to fill. We also have the positions currently filled by Teresa Mahoney and Jaime Rodriguez, vacant, or coming up vacant on July 1. And so my recommendation is that we start the process of filling those. We have contacted the 2 folks whose terms are ending. Both have indicated that they're interested in continuing in that role. I've heard from at least one school board member who's leaving the board that he may be interested in serving on the budget committee. But we will start the process of posting the vacancies, and when did we fill that? October, we will fill those positions. So just to let you know.
Can you remind me again, do we still have student representation that's going to be on, do we have that at all on our, but we don't on our budget?
No.
And we ever have any thoughts to having that be an opportunity?
They wouldn't be official members of the budget committee, kind of like they wouldn't be official members of the board if we had a student representative. I don't believe we've had the conversation about having.
So they wouldn't
board
be an official unless they were maybe 18, if they were?
They'd have to be appointed by the board, yes.
Yeah. So if they were appointed,
They would
even
have
if
to
they
meet the
were-
criteria to be budget committee members, which is they have to live in the district and have to be,
Is there an age requirement?
I think they have to be able to vote, but I think they have to be out of school.
For the
I'll
vote
have
that
to
we
do some
just
checking.
passed?
I honestly
16
haven't.
years old, they're pre-registered.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I can look into that.
I thought.
Any other questions?
Thank
So
you.
we'll be posting that all summer and collecting names throughout.
Collecting
for
names, yeah.
action.
Yep. In time for our first budget committee member meeting, which will probably happen sometime November or December timeframe.
Thank you. And then next up, Travis.
So as you know, the board of directors establishes the Citizens Curriculum Committee to provide citizens the opportunity to be involved in the development of our curriculum and instructional programs. Each June, the board identifies vacancies and announces the positions that will be open for recruitment this summer. I'm happy to do that on your request on behalf of the board. In September, the board will review the names of people who have submitted an application and appoint new members to the CCAC. In 2014, the board agreed that the number of members of the committee should be around 14, and we also decided that we should guard 4 spots in addition to the 14 for student representatives, the idea being 1 from each comprehensive high school. We could make that happen each year. And if more or fewer qualified candidates apply for vacancies, that the board would have the right to expand the membership of the committee or maybe go with a smaller committee if we didn't have the turnout, which hasn't been a problem lately. Tonight I included a list of the folks whose term is ending and who have resigned from the committee, so you can see that. There are 6 active CCAC members who have continuing terms. There are 7 CCAC members whose terms have ended and have expressed interest in reapplying. And 4 students have graduated this year, so we'll need to refill the 4 student spots in the fall. So based on the recommendation of the committee, with 8 new and reinstated committee members and 4 new student members, we would have a full committee next year together with the 6 members who would continue with their term until June 2018. So if all went well, we'd have about 14 members next year. But I also want to say that we will continue to try to recruit community interest or community members into applying for the CCAC in order to increase the diverse perspectives that serve on the committee. And they asked me to share a little bit of information with you tonight about ways that we can improve recruitment and awareness in the community at the Citizens Curriculum Committee, as well as increasingly diversify the committee so that students we serve have representatives on the Citizens Committee and advocate for them. So ideas that came up and that I'm working with Val on are to improve the blurb, as we call it, that goes on our website and describes what the responsibilities of the committee are, so there's clarity on that. The request was to link the blurb and the advertisement not only to the board page where it currently sits, but also under the community pull-down tab under opportunities to volunteer, so that someone seeking an opportunity to volunteer in our community would find it there alongside the budget committee verbiage. They requested that we do more of a social media blitz, not only through hot news and Facebook, but also push the advertisement through our school websites and through school Facebook, which will be increasingly possible through our new web format. And then the group did a self-census to see which students they can voice advocacy for when they participate in CCAC meetings. And we identified areas where we might not have representatives at the table. For example, in South and Southeast Hillsboro, Cornelius, North Plains, and Farmington attendance areas are not well represented. They would be interested in someone who has a background in advocating for families that are experiencing homelessness, which is an increasing problem in our community. Interested in having community members on the CCAC who have backgrounds in school to work, associates of arts degrees, military and trades pathways to career. Interested in recruiting business and industry partners and community leaders who serve in other leadership roles in the city of Hillsboro and our attendance area. More communities of color, especially Latino families represented on the CCAC. We need more men on the committee. Members who can represent LGBTQ communities. Members who have online learning and alternative education lenses. And finally, advocates for students with special needs who we serve in our school district would be welcome in bigger numbers on the CCAC. So after examining who they were, they wanted me to let you know that over the summer they'll be trying to seek out recruits who might be interested in a volunteer opportunity so that we can have an increasingly diverse Citizens Curriculum Committee. So my plan would be to execute those recommendations over the summer and then bring in September all the applications that we've gathered to the board for your review and then to appoint new members to the committee. Happy to answer any questions.
Lisa?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Is that okay? Some questions. Are you prepared for a comment?
Accept comments as well, Lisa.
Wonderful. Okay, so just a couple things. First, I really appreciate this process. I remember a few years ago now when we were kind of switching over the process way back when, and that seemed a little bit harder than it should have, but I think that it's a little bit more accessible now to community members. It used to be you had to hound a board member, and if you didn't know one, you had to find out how to know one and get them to like nominate. It was
quite a hurdle, I think. So I'm really excited that this process is continuing. And then also, Travis, I just want to thank you for your leadership on this. I remember, again, way back when I was on the CCAC, the way that you kind of led that committee into sort of self-analyzing and seeing where gaps were in representation for our communities to make sure that we're serving all students as best as we can. And you're obviously continuing to do that, and it's something that I really appreciate. And I know that a lot of other people probably do too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Charles, I had a question. Do we know some of the years have been characterized by specific curriculum topics that would consume a significant amount of the time? Is there such a topic? I don't know if it continues in the science domain, or do you have an idea? I ask in terms of, would that be helpful? Is part of the responsibilities to highlight some specific kinds of areas that are likely to be a focus for the coming year that would help people in their interests?
That's a good tip. In our expanded blurb, we mentioned really concrete examples of things we handled this year. So everything from how we group students for the purpose of instruction to science, and a lot of the new CTE-aligned new course proposals that the board approved this year were considered by the CCAC. So looking forward, we will continue with science. We're going to get into world language curriculum adoption, also updating PE standards. So we do know what's coming up, and it might be nice. I could go back and add a couple of those details.
That might be interesting.
Frame it, possible topics for next year would be boom, boom, and boom.
And focus is, imagine you go about finding student representatives in a different way than just putting it out there. I don't know what other techniques, but I would encourage, I think having the student voice in there is wonderful. And if you can align students that have a knowledge or interest in the area that you might be covering, and look for students that would be able to give first-person feedback on the curriculum that they are experiencing, that maybe was a focus, maybe they're participating in a focus area in that domain, or something that would allow them to share their expertise on a personal level from a curriculum standpoint. That would be interesting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Thank you, Travis. Great job. Next up, Adam, financial report.
Yeah, included in your packet is the monthly financial report, and I'm happy to answer questions about that. But I did want to take the opportunity to thank some of our outgoing board members. Monty, thank you for being a cheerleader for the business office and for the finance report and for the audit committee. It's been a pleasure. You've made me really step up my game when I prepare for these meetings, so thank you. Glenn, thank you for all your service on the Long Range Planning Committee. I hope you're going to continue with us on that committee, and that you'll continue to be involved in the bond work that we've got upcoming. So thank you. Janine, thanks for just being Janine. It's been great. And Eric, I think I agree with Wayne that I think Eric has really brought a diverse opinion and a set of ways of thinking about things that have really helped my office. So again, I can answer any questions about the report itself, but I did want to thank everybody for their service.
Comments? I was going to point out that it may be Monty that was responsible for having the finance report not at the bitter end of the meeting.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It's not as early in the agenda as you'd like it, I think. It's there.
I remember well getting the financial report in the last 5 desperate minutes of the meeting. So you feel them below. Okay, we are moving to the consent agenda. I would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as printed.
I'll second.
Motion made by Kim, seconded by Lisa to approve the consent agenda as written. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Seeing none, motion passes.
We have some
time.
No. 11 action items. We have a good list of action items to take care of this evening, and first up, we are going to turn to Adam for adopting the resolution for the hearing that we just held.
And as Wayne mentioned earlier, you have, I believe, a copy of the resolutions in front of you. There are 3 of them. One to adopt the budget, one to appropriate the budget, and one to impose the taxes and categorize the levy. So I think in the past, have we done all 3 of them together? Yeah, I think the statement on the front page there under the recommendation is adequate for approving all 3 of them.
Perfect. So I would, to start this off, with any questions, I would look for a motion to adopt the resolutions as written in this recommendation. It will cover all 3 actions.
So now, I move that the Board of Directors of the Hillsboro School District 1J hereby adopt the budget for fiscal year 2017-18 in the total amount of $301,738,600 now on file at the District Administration Center, Hillsboro, Oregon. That was adequate? Does that say close the end to do the tax? Right.
No, I think you got to do the first page.
All right. So look under the recommendation. All right.
Yes, yeah, that does them all.
All right, the Board of Directors adopt the resolution to adopt the 2017-18 budget, appropriate the 2017-18 budget, and impose the 2017-18 taxes, and categorize the levy as shown. How's that? Better? All right.
Take it. Motion made by Glenn. Is there a second?
Great.
Motion made by Glenn and seconded by Monty to perform the actions as indicated in the motion. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I would only say thank you so much for all the work that has happened, and ask all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for all your work, Adam, and getting all this together. And
Michelle, yes, thank you.
It's been a wonderful, transparent, open process, and I've appreciated I've appreciated the lengthy process. It's something that has grown over the years, and it speaks to a good means to have the community involved in making these important decisions. Thank you so much. Okay, you could have made that before.
I know. I hit my button. But I'm just saying that, Michelle had those students that worked on with her, and I'm just thinking that, again, those are the type of students that would make excellent candidates for, having some sort of role in the budget process, whether they're a committee member or just gives them a more in-depth role, so.
Thank you very much. Second up comes to me. We have carried out, as is one of our specific board responsibilities, is to manage the one and only employee that is a responsibility to manage. And we've gone through a process that we've established over the last several years to carry out a complete and diligent review of our superintendent. And we have, from that review, we have discussed and assembled the performance review, which we have then reviewed in our closed session in preparation for presenting his review this evening. And it's my pleasure and responsibility to actually read the entire letter verbally into the record, as I'm told by Val, it is a mandated requirement. So it really is a pleasure to have this opportunity to work with Mike Scott, our superintendent. And everyone should know and has already heard from some of the comments as just a fantastic administrator and has been, I'll just start here and see where the letter goes and see if there's anything left for me to say. Dear Superintendent Scott, is concerning our annual Board of Directors evaluation of performance. Dear Superintendent Scott, the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors has completed your evaluation for 2016-17 according to policy CBG evaluation of the superintendent. This year's standards-based model included a board survey and self-evaluation that examined your leadership and operational performance. In your 8th year as superintendent, you continue to be an excellent, respected leader throughout our district and community. You were evaluated on 8 standards for superintendent performance. 1, leadership and culture. 2, policy and governance. 3, communication and community relations. 4, organizational management. 5, facilities and technology management and planning. 6, instructional leadership. 7, human resources management. And 8, values and ethics of leadership. The board used a 4-point rating scale with the following descriptive terms: exceeding, proficient, developing, and does not meet. Superintendent Scott, we, the Board of Directors of Hillsboro School District, want to thank you for a truly outstanding year. Building on your highly proficient performance and growth in past years, you have improved your performance this year in all 8 standards while exceeding expectations and achieving career high performance levels in 6 of them. You reported that this was the most professionally challenging year of your career. It's clear that you've risen to those challenges and performed exceptionally. We would like to recognize you here with a few examples of your successes and begin charting a course for outstanding years to come. Mike, as the superintendent, you have consistently demonstrated strong and effective leadership of the Hillsboro School District and have clearly communicated your vision of educational excellence. A particularly moving example of this was your organization of this year's district all-staff kickoff event in August. The message was that every student is one caring adult away from being a success story, and that it's every staff member's job to get to know students individually by their name, strength, and need. You encourage staff to pause from their routines, make real connections with students, and build relationships. This, more than anything, will build a foundation for success for every student in the Hillsboro School District. We appreciate your style of leadership by example at all levels of district engagement. You work collaboratively with your administrative team to learn and grow together. You routinely use student achievement data and teacher feedback to evaluate processes to improve instruction. You have created academic conference for principals to focus on improving student achievement and outcome in their individual schools. You regularly meet with principals and visit classrooms to inform yourself on best practices and provide praise to individual teachers. You meet with student groups to hear their voice in important discussions, and you have created a board and a superintendent student input team to formalize a communication channel for student voice back to the administration and the board. You lead by example when you are honest with staff and admit that you don't always get every decision right. You lead by example when you challenge all of us to stop and build a relationship with a student. You lead by example when you make time yourself to individually mentor a student and encourage your staff to do the same. Mike, we applaud your efforts to spend more time engaging with the community. Thank you for your continued work with the City of Hillsboro, with the Hillsboro Chamber of Commerce, the Hillsboro Schools Foundation, Hillsboro Rotary and Optimist Clubs, Creciendo Juntos, the United Way, Northwest Promise, and many others. You have engaged individual community members through coffee chats, forums, and other city meetings. Sponsorship of the District Proud of Hst Festival in downtown Hillsboro is another amazing connection that reaches a broadly diverse group of community members to show them how community support directly impacts the lives of students and community members. And through the college and career pathway work, your team has brought countless partners to the table to benefit Hillsboro students. Through your leadership, the Hillsboro School District is widely regarded at the state level as a model for programs of educational excellence. Please continue this excellent work at local and state levels and do what you can to better convey to legislators the local consequences of statewide legislative policies. It has been a uniquely challenging year for Hillsboro School District. The district once again faces a significant budget shortfall due to reduced state funding. At the same time, the district is faced with growth in coming years, requiring significant investments in new facilities and building upgrades to be funded through a future bond measure. The national political scene has created very personal student responses at several schools. Several staff communications and decisions across the district have triggered community reactions. Mike, what's important to observe here is not the occurrence of these challenges, but your responses to them. State funding challenges are not new, and you have consistently engaged the HSD Budget Committee as an integral part of the budget process. Seeking this level of regular, deep community engagement and making these crucial budget decisions is unique to the Hillsboro School District. You have supported award-winning financial leadership. HSD has been awarded a full systems accreditation, and you have engaged in a smarter school spending review that will lead to financial benefits independent of current budget challenges. The creation of our Hst Bond Advisory Committee is another place where many community voices have been included, both as committee members and through extensive community outreach. This has resulted in a strong and well-supported bond proposal, where national political events have created new safety concerns for students. Mike, you engaged with students in discussion and created a new venue for deeper conversations between students, staff, and board members. Community concerns or curriculum decisions ultimately triggered deeper discussions with parents and students on community educational values, development of student-specific curriculum options, and common high school course catalog. The board appreciates your desire to avoid challenges through continuous improvement processes, and it applauds you for your willingness to admit district mistakes, learn from them, take corrective action, and do so in a way that engages deeper and more meaningful conversation. Mike, there is much to praise in your work in instructional leadership. Hillsboro School District graduation rates continue to rise. Various programs across HSD are having significant positive impacts on students. For example, AVID, College and Career Pathways, Big Picture at Miller Education Center, the Ethnic Studies Task Force, the expansion of advanced placement and dual credit opportunities, teachers on special assignments, positive behavior interventions and support, the Classified Summit, Ignite, the Western Oregon University Scholars Program, professional learning communities for teachers and principals, PLC Boot Camp, and the development of new STEAM school options. We also appreciate your new efforts to engage in curriculum discussions at the state level by serving on the advisory group to an Oregon Department of Education Deputy Superintendent this year. The board applauds these efforts. As we look forward to the coming year and its challenges, the board asks you to intentionally seek out and develop appreciation of alternative viewpoints among board members, administrators, staff, and community members. Invite input that reflects these perspectives early in the decision-making process. Continue implementing systemic changes to district processes that are inclusive, build confidence, and establish trust with staff, students, and community. Track and report back on the effectiveness of individual programs toward our district mission to educate all learners. And probably most importantly, as our district's academic leader, be the strongest advocate for what you know needs to be accomplished by actively advocating your position on critical issues. Integrity, a strong moral compass, ethical leadership, and compassion are all the most important qualities of a true and valued leader. Mike, you embody these characteristics in all that you do. We, the Board of Directors of the Hillsboro School District, are proud to have you as our district superintendent. You have our respect. Thank you for your dedicated service to the students of Hillsboro. We are proud to be HSD, and we are proud to serve with you. Thank you for your consistent leadership and dedication to engage and challenge all learners and to ensure academic excellence. Sincerely, we, board members of Hillsboro School District.
Can you read that again?
Very good. We will leave it there. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, with that, reading and review of the superintendent's performance review, I would be looking for a motion to approve the performance evaluation.
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's performance evaluation.
Second.
Motion made by Janine, seconded by Kim, to approve the performance evaluation of the superintendent. Any questions or comments? Janine?
Short and brief. I said it so many times. We are very fortunate, and Wayne, you took so much of our collective comments and really reflected it so well said in that letter. There are so many examples of your leadership and what you've done for this district, and I just can't say enough about how you're the type of leader that is not just about yourself in the position, that you lift others to those places of leadership. And for that, I really greatly respect that of you. And I really appreciate this 8 years that I've had to be here and sit with you on this dais, and appreciate all that you've done for this district and our kids.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of the performance evaluation, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Pleasure. And as a follow-up to that, our next item is to approve the extension of the superintendent's contract. And I would be looking for a motion to approve such extension.
Make a motion to approve the extension of the superintendent's contract.
Do we have to read the resolution on the packet?
I think you have to read through the whole. No.
It's probably good to say
Just
a year.
one sentence.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I make a motion to approve the 2017-18 individual contract with the superintendent with a one-year extension through June 30th, 2020.
All second?
1 year, 2020.
Motion made by Janine, seconded by Kim, to approve the contract as stated. Any questions or comments?
Is seconded by Lisa, just for the record.
What did I say?
You called me again. It's cool. It's interchangeable.
If you would have come up with a different
I'm
name, we would
speechless
have been
in
more
time because
concerned, but.
I've sat here deliberately writing the names so that I could remember.
You were just
And I
thinking, you don't do
heard
very
Lisa.
often. You just wanted to know that we were
Lisa
listening
and I
to you.
wrote Kim.
Yeah.
This one doesn't.
Okay, so it's all in my imagination. I do this to Lisa so often. I need to
It's
apologize.
only been 3 times, but you make like you feel really bad about it. So
Only 3 times. Motion made by Janine, not that she's counting, seconded by Lisa. Did I keep calling her different names? To approve the superintendent contract. All those in favor, please indicate. Did I know any people's?
No, you didn't.
Please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. It's been a long night already.
Just caught up in the moment.
Caught up in the moment, okay. Very good. Next up, we have Travis with our physics materials adoption.
Thank you. The first reading for the Physics 1 recommendation was presented during the May 23rd board meeting. And tonight, we would simply ask that the Board of Directors adopt Physics first course text and the digital components of that, as well as Patterns Physics as the core instructional materials for Physics 1, along with the complementary investment in instructional technology proposed last month.
Okay, I would be looking for a motion.
Go ahead. Okay, so this is going to be moved by Lisa, and so moved by Kim and Brett. Hold on. Okay, so I move that we adopt Physics First course text and digital access and Pattern Physics as the core instructional materials for Physics 1 and approve proposed complementary investment in instructional technology.
A second? Just mixing it up.
Motion made by Lisa, seconded by Janine, to approve the physics materials as stated. Any other questions or comments on the topic? Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And you're getting the attendance, right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all the hard work. I'm
Yeah. particularly
particularly interested in physics.
Makes them tear
I
up.
appreciate the materials.
Robots and physics. Brings the tears. Who's going to ride that?
I got it. Don't worry.
All right. Next up, we have approval of the 2017-18 meeting dates. We've seen those, we've had a chance to review them. And hopefully at this point, we're just got input from you. The meeting dates are all acceptable. So I would just look for a motion to approve the meeting dates for next year.
I move that we approve the board meeting dates for the 2017-18 school year.
All second.
I was waiting.
I was waiting too.
Actually, I was waiting for another voice to take a second and see if someone would take
It
the
takes
bait.
a lot longer when you're out there.
Motion made by Kim, seconded by Lisa, to approve the board meeting dates for 2017-18. Any further questions or comments? The only comment that I'm glad that it is not on Valentine's Day. It's great. And so all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Adam. Declare surplus equipment and authorize disposal by public auction.
Yes, per board policy DN, disposal of district property, I have a list of items that I'd like to have declared surplus in anticipation of holding an auction later this summer. So you have the list there, and I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the list.
Is the gas edger in good shape?
I don't know. You'll have to come to the auction.
8-string triggers. Market.
They were in really great shape. You could really sell.
So, Kim,
Yeah, sorry that I didn't ask this earlier. I'm actually curious, is it equipment that is in usable shape? As I look at this list, I see technical theater supplies that are often expensive for a department to buy. These probably did not come from that department, so other folks may not have thought of them as student supplies.
Would you like me to
I'm curious.
see if
Because
they would
even
be
if it
interested in
is
them
a-
before we declare them surplus?
Or if we could find out if they are usable, I think even booster clubs could purchase them for those departments because they, in case they don't have the funds to purchase them. I think because they're tools, we often think of them being a part of facilities, but I just know that our tech shops often get forgotten and these are
so
tools that.
I suspect that it would, if they go to the schools, it probably works. I think if it was what did you just say, a parent group or something, that's outside the district and so it would fall under the auction rather than.
But if it were, is this equipment that can move from one department to the other? I guess that's my question.
If it's within the district, sure.
usable.
Yeah.
then- So I would be interested in knowing that. I'm sorry for the last.
No, that's okay.
So is the motion you're looking for specifically tied to this list or is it?
It is, but what I can do is have you declare these surplus, then check to see if any of them can be used by some of the other departments, and if they can be, then they just will be taken off the list and won't be part of the auction.
Seems like certainly a good idea to inquire of the big high schools and middle schools that have shops and things that are contemplating equipment.
And I'm not saying that didn't happen, I just don't know. So, but
Yeah.
I will make sure it does.
Thank you.
Oftentimes, this equipment, that's where it comes from, is from Dave's equipment that's in the shops. And
Right.
so some of the things that we'd have to check is, do they have the safety guards and that kind of thing?
Right.
So
It may be that they're not usable, but
We'll check.
we can check for you.
thank you.
Okay, so we can continue making a motion. But we have one question.
Yeah, I'm just, reading over it in the packet here, I mean, basically it says, the description of this thing is, the surplus and authorized disposal of one's property is no longer useful to the district, unsuitable for use, too costly to repair, or obsolete. So, I mean, it pretty much states it in this anyway, that these things are just not particularly useful. And I'm not disputing one way or the other, I have no way of judging, so.
Right.
But I would assume that if it made this list, that the assumption was it was already well past the service of a lifetime.
But we
That's-
will check to make
Please,
sure.
I'd love to hear you verify
It
that.
may be something like it's not usable by the department that uses them regularly and professionally and consistently, but maybe safe for a drama department use for a minimal, maybe different.
I'll do a board update on what I find out.
Thank you.
It would be worth some kind of long-term process that just says advertising internally equipment that is believed to be no longer useful in the areas that they currently reside and are there.
Assuming they're not past.
Assuming they're not
position.
past
their prime.
usability.
Right.
Very good. Okay, I would look for a motion then to approve the declaration of surplus equipment.
I move that we declare the attached list of items surplus and authorize their disposal by public auction.
Second.
Motion made by Kim, seconded by Monty to declare the surplus equipment, authorize just their disposal by public auction. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Workers' comp coverage.
Just sent myself an email. Okay, good. So as we talked about last month, we are switching our workers' compensation carrier. Because that policy takes effect July 1, it is coming before you in June rather than July when we usually approve these as a part of the regular organizational meeting. So what you have in front of you is a proposal to move our coverage from the SBIS program to the SAFE program for our workers' compensation coverage.
Looking then for a motion to approve changes in workers' compensation coverage.
I'll make a motion that we approve the change in workers' compensation coverage.
I'll second.
Motion made by Glenn, seconded by Lisa, to approve changes as designated to workers' compensation coverage. Any further questions and comments? Janine?
This was the one that there was a considerable amount of savings to,
There
right?
was, yes.
Yeah.
It was about $100,000 savings to this year's premium and about a $250,000 savings from what our premium was going to be next year with our current carrier.
It's fabulous.
More jazz
So,
hands
More
for
jazz
that?
hands.
Is this like anything?
No.
Or is this like a going away thing? I need to be mentioned.
We can do anything.
Okay, just checking.
Okay, seeing no other questions, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Yes.
Construction management.
As we discussed in the work session, we have gone through a process to select a construction management firm to help us with the bond issue and to manage the bond program once we are successful in November. So what you have tonight is a recommendation to approve the contract, to award the contract to Cornerstone Management Group for construction management services.
Okay, I would look for a motion.
I move that we contract with Cornerstone Management Group to provide construction management services for the November 2017 bond program, and that we authorize our CFO, Adam Stewart, to execute the contract documents.
I will second that.
Motion made by Kim, seconded by Glenn, to award the construction management contract as designated. Any further questions or comments? Monty?
Do we have the contract in our packet?
We have the RFP and we have, no, we don't,
So what are we authorizing you to do?
to sign the documents, the contract documents,
What-
awarding the contract.
So what is the total dollar amount of the contract?
The estimated not to exceed cost was $4.7 million. It was in their bid was in the document. All four of the bids were in the board packet.
And Janine?
I think what you'd mentioned is that there is a history of working with this company, so there was something to be said for a good relationship with, on time, under, all those kind of things that you look for when you are placing a partnership.
Right. The bid was very competitive financially. We also are very familiar with their work. They recommended all of the phone calls we made to other firms, other districts that have used them were very positive. We feel really good about bringing them back on board.
Seeing no other questions, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And our final action item, approve the participation of OSBA in OSBA Promise Scholarship Program. Mike.
All right, as we've talked about for the last month, the Oregon School Board Association does have a Promise Scholarship Program. It's basically a training program for board members, and participation in that program would include 4 areas: superintendent evaluation, board self-evaluation. We actually already do those 2, but a boardmanship training series, and then a project of the board's choice as well. It would also result in a $5,000 scholarship that we could award to district students. And the recommendation is that we make the decision to participate in that training for the 2017-2018 school year.
Janine.
I just wanted to reiterate, I think, some conversation that we had before, that I can't say enough, that it's really important that, especially with a new majority of team members onto this board, that it's growing as a team is so critical, and taking that professional development opportunities to work together. And just a really important part of that process is the conversation. It's really being able to have in a room, talk about differences of opinions, talk about different ideas, and really, delving into conversation. I think with that really becomes another opportunity for growth. So I'm really excited that you're doing this, and gosh, the icing on the cake is that there's an opportunity for a scholarship. I don't know if it's all for one or if it can be broken up. But I just think it's an amazing opportunity.
Any other questions or comments?
Can I make a motion?
I have a promotion.
So I move that we approve the decision to participate in the OSBA Promise Scholarship Program during the 2017-18 school year.
All second.
Motion made by Kim, seconded by Lisa, to approve our participation in the OSBA Promise Scholarship Program. Any other questions or comments? Very good. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Impressive.
Do our best.
All about the encouragement.
I know.
Okay, we
that's
are
what I
up to our opportunity to hear from representatives from HCU, HEA. ESD, I don't see representative from, so.
It's just that.
Good evening. I'm Jill Millay, HEA President, Hillsboro Educational Association, and I do want to take a couple minutes to say thank you to the board members that are leaving and going on to different volunteer opportunities and different things. I want to say thank you to Monty for your volunteerism with the students, and it's very meaningful, and I really appreciate it. I kind of got into this profession starting as a volunteer as well, and so thank you for your service. Thank you, Glenn, for advocating for the arts. I didn't realize that you did that, and I really appreciate that. I feel like that's an important piece that we need to keep in our public school systems, and so thank you for doing that. And thank you, Janine, for always advocating for the teachers and being present and being in the buildings. And we really appreciate you advocating for us, and to continue to advocate for us, and we appreciate that, so thank you. And thank you, Eric, too, for all the time that you volunteered as well. We appreciate you. This past month, we've had the opportunity to support our retired teachers. We had a gathering at Pumpkin Ridge, which is very lovely, and we had probably about 8 or 9 retired teachers that were present. And a couple of things that really stood out was one teacher that had been in the district over 30 years started her career and ended her career in the same building, and I thought that was very impressive. And then, of course, we all know Maureen Barnhart, and she retired as well, and she had the privilege of starting her career at Lennox and finishing her career at Lennox. So I thought that was very special. But most of the teachers there have been teaching for the district for 20 plus years. I think the longest was 34 years. So I thought it was very impressive. So, and I gave them a little something I wanted to share with you. I gave them this little, I told them that I had made them their last lunch. And they can use it sometime in the next couple of weeks, and did the brown paper bag. And so it has a few things in it, and I just thought it was kind of fun, and I wanted to share it with you. So it's a little poem, you know, I thought it was appropriate, especially with your poems and different things, that your quotes. So I gave them a keychain for being a key to learning, and well, there should be a marble in here, but there isn't. I apologize. I gave them a marble to replace the ones they'd lost, so maybe that's appropriate. A candle so their future looks bright. Clay for helping us to mold many, many children. There's confetti in here, I won't throw it out all over, but there's confetti to celebrate the joys of retirement. Seeds for all your dreams to grow. And a mint for a fresh look at retirement. A Kit Kat because it's time to take a break. And the 4 people that are leaving. And a penny for the retirement fund. To start that off. So anyways, we had a great time, wonderful celebration. We've also helped with the Equity Town Hall that, with the help of Liberty, offering the facility. We had students, 8 to 10 students from the 4 high schools as well as Sports Grove participate in an event at Liberty last week, and very well received, and I'm very excited to be part of that piece with the community. And then we had an engaged tour as well, where the bargaining team and the HA bargaining team and the exec board, many members had an opportunity to do one-on-one conversation in 8 school buildings last week in the South Meadows Theater. So just networking, so wanting to hear from everyone with a bit of all. So thank you for the opportunity to be at the mic, and once again, thank you for all your volunteerism and your service. We really appreciate it.
So this year again, I reprised my role as sitting in the booth at graduation to help make sure the stream was going on, and my fellow co-worker Diane Kleintop also covered one of the schools that I wasn't able to. And one of the things I really wanted to point out for graduation is that those stage and canopies and getting everything ready to go, a lot of that work was done by your facilities and maintenance crew. And they put in a ton of time to make sure that was ready for students to do what they needed to do, and that everyone got out of there in time to have the space available for the next group. You know, we always think about all the great work that people do setting stuff up, but the cleanup takes just as much time. I was talking to some of the guys on Monday, and they were up till like 1:30 at night, still loading trucks, getting stuff back to facilities, just in pouring down rain while the kids were off enjoying their graduation, and with the staff who put in the hours to make sure that event happened. And it's stuff like that that's really important to have classified staff. And we're very thankful that we have a budget that we think is going to be sustainable through the next year. But there is still some, it came with cuts, and a lot of those cuts came to classified folks and to support staff. We understand why that happened, and we understand the need to keep teachers in the classroom, and how class size is super important. But our request to the board and to the incoming board is that if by somehow the state sees some reason to kick us some more dollars, that we recover some of those classified positions that were lost. And I'm talking about those special education assistants that are now losing 1 or 2 people, so the ratios become that they're watching way too many kids to be safe. It's the So random people at Technology Services that are like our help desk person isn't coming back this next year. So we're going to have to, so our response time to being able to address issues and help staff deal with the computer issues will be reduced. It's the reduction of just half hours of times here and there, kind of spread out across the workforce. And for classified folks who really only make $20,000 to $30,000 a year, a half-hour cut is a significant portion of their income. It's a couple $1,000s a year, and that can be the difference between making rent and not. So I really hope that as we move forward into this next year, that we really are mindful of how that if we ever get to the point that money comes back, that we're really mindful about where that goes, and that we try to sort of regenerate some of that bone that has been cut in these especially this year. So on brighter news, I just wanted to thank all the school boards who are members who are leaving. As I like to always say, elections have consequences. There was consequential when you showed up, when you were elected, because you made change. You impacted this district. You were part of this community to make it what it is. You built upon the successes of those who came before you, and you created successes for the next group of school board members to stand upon and to make this district even better. So even though I may not always have agreed with every decision you have made, I feel you have made it in a very methodical and thoughtful way, and that your decisions have really impacted our students, and I know that you made them to impact our students in positive ways. So I thank you for the service, and I hope that you still come back and help out with the community, and maybe sit on a committee or go out to a school and just go make a positive impact with our students. So thank you all.
Mike. All right, I have just a couple quick things. First of all, thank you for the very generous letter, the evaluation letter. I appreciate that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all of the staff members that are in the room, particularly this group over here that I spend the majority of my time with. Thank you all for your many efforts. You heard all of your work reflected in that letter. So I appreciate you, and I don't tell you that enough, but thank you very much for all of your efforts. And you guys are great people. Thank you all for your commitment. So, and Wayne, I know that the way you do business, I would imagine that letter took hours because you don't wing things. So I appreciate the time that you put into that. Much appreciated. Devin stole my thunder a little bit on graduation. We recognize the students and they go across the stage, and there's even a portion in there where we thank the parents and we thank the teachers that are in attendance. But the behind the scenes work is exactly what I was going to talk about as well. Whether it is seeing the facilities crew at the Proud to Be HSD Festival, or whether it's seeing them before and after graduations, they are always behind the scenes, cranking things out and creating opportunities for our students. So I wanted to publicly thank them as well. And thanks also, Devin, for your recognition of them. And then finally, I said enough at the beginning, but one final time for the board members that this is their last meeting, to Monty and Glenn and Janine, thank you for your many hours of efforts and for all the difference you made for our students. It's much appreciated. Thank you. Just sit out there.
You're welcome to visit me. Fill out your 3-minute request.
I know, you're right. I'm sorry, your fever's going up.
Very good. With that, we are at our final board agenda item, board director's time. Start with, where should I start? I better start at this end.
Sure.
Kim.
Some of mine have been said, but I will be quick. I also appreciate the graduations and the facility staff. Not only did they do all of that, they did the smile on their face. As we got to interact with all of them, they were so helpful. Like I asked on the last night, I missed the time to turn in my stuff because I went out for photos. And someone, I was like, and we had to kind of sneak back in to get in. He walked me to the gate to make sure I could actually get out. And I just really appreciated it. Again, all of them smile on the face. To To the cabinet, we are all super well aware that Mike's evaluation is a reflection of an entire team, and I just appreciate all you do and that you put up with all of us and answer all of our questions and push us all to be better board members and this district to be the best in the state. And to Mr. Zaire, who's in the back also enjoying his last board meeting, congratulations on your retirement, and may you never have to sit through another one.
Sorry, just a few more things. I would just mention on the graduations that it is, again, it's just a point to say it's about those relationships, and it is those amazing connections that you make with people who are there greeting you at the gate and saying goodnight to you, and all the work that they do to make that happen. It's incredible. And I want to say that I had this ability to have this presentation done in Salem that I got to see. It was on the PACS behavior game. And it was an amazing presentation. I was so very excited. And then I was even more excited to be able to say, because there was a representative, I feel so bad, Sarah. Is her first name?
Sarah.
Yes. Anyway, she was fabulous, and she was so excited, and you could tell that she was completely devoted about the program as well. And I got to tell her that I got to see this in action in Mrs. Rook's class in Free Orchards. I saw this in action, and again, I said it upstairs. My future daughter-in-law is a second-year elementary teacher, 5th grade, and this has been a really trying year for her. And just to be able to tell her, wait, have you heard of this? Because there's hope out there for helping you in another tool. So I'm figuring out ways to connect her there. So that's, again, it's just another appreciative lens that I get to experience. And yes, I'll say it one more time. I haven't said that enough. It does take a village, and I am so incredibly in awe of the amazing talent, the amazing dedication, the amazing compassion, knowledge that so many of our staff members in this school district have, and just the need and want to make sure that every student makes it across that line and walks across that graduation stage with a plan is just really inspirational. So it takes a village, and I am just so thankful to be surrounded by incredible village people like yourself. Let's do it.
There we go.
I know. Who's gonna?
Wow. I don't have a lot except to, again, publicly say thank you for the time and that you guys been here. I do want to acknowledge the staff as well. With graduations, they went very well. I wasn't able to attend everyone because unfortunately I was sick pretty bad last week, but the ones that I went to went really well despite the weather. And I had fun, joking around with some of the staff as we were going through these things too. So it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone. It's been a great 4 years, and you will occasionally see me out there, just not every meeting. And I am looking forward to, just participating basically as needed and where I can plug in and whatnot. But I'm also looking forward to a little bit of a break as well. Thank you.
So I'll just echo what everyone said about graduations. They are obviously a highlight of the year. It's really exciting to get to watch students sort of be in a huddle and then get their moment in the limelight, and then their empty diploma container that, signifies so much as a symbolic gesture. It's always a lot of fun, so I'm really thankful to get to participate in that. And then, I already made comments about the outgoing board members, so I won't do that and cry twice in a public meeting. But just thank you guys all for your service, your 22 years cumulatively, and because again, it's very impressive. So thank you all very much.
I'll go along with the village people, and I'd like to thank the macho men and women of the district that we have helping our students. Like you said, the graduation, it's just the highlight of the year. I went to 6, and I think I've gone to every one except the year I was in Vietnam. So it's great to see these kids come across, and it's great to look at their face and just see them. On some of them, it's just sheer terror. They don't know what they're going to do, and they don't know what they're going to do after they get off the stage. And it's like,
what do I do now? And then you get kids coming across and they're real confident. I mean, you can tell hey, this is cool. Listen, I'm going to go do things now. And so, along with the appraising of the girls' shoes and taking bets on how the girls, which one's going to fall down the stairs. It's just a great time for families and for those graduates, and when you see them and their grasp of what they've done, the struggles they've had, a lot of them, and the success they now have, it's just a great feeling, and I'm glad I've been able to take part in that.
With that, echo the final comments. Graduation, always a highlight. We set a new high bar for excellence in the graduation process from the venues that we experimented with the Miller Ed at Hill High. It was a fantastic experience. They're looking forward to that. So I appreciate the kind of the outside the box thinking on locations. Been a big success here at the stadium. I hope that we can see that continue. It's just a wonder to sit through the graduations and watch the students participate, watch the articulate speakers, watch them proudly go by. Sometimes so excited, as you said, that they forget to shake hands, or a couple of them almost got by off the stage without the diploma in their hands. They were so excited, and it's just sharing an enthusiasm that is what makes service in the district special. From the board members to staff and everyone who can really enjoy that. So thank you for everyone who makes that a success, from from setting up the takedown to guiding the students to make that a success. It's a big moment in their lives, and it's a privilege for all of us to be involved. In addition, by my accounting, I believe this is my last opportunity to adjourn almost an hour early, and as adjourn, I think this is my last meeting adjournment of my 2 years of service as a board chair. It's unlikely, as we discussed, that I would continue. So with that, I would...
Thank you for your leadership. We had to get that in before you.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure serving as leader of this board. It's a pleasure serving with all of you, and look forward to continuing to work together. Thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned.